Hey there! Today I'm going to talk to you about some of the connections that happen between you and your child when you read books together. I know that social emotional development is really foundational for your infant and toddler. The research shows us that a child who has a good, strong attachment and trust in the first year of life, that builds a foundation for all of their relationships for the rest of their life. And so it's really important that we spend lots of good, solid time with our baby developing this trusting, attached relationship. And one way that we can connect with our little one is through reading books. What does that look like? How do you make book reading a part of your child's social emotional development? Well, for one thing, oftentimes when you read a book, it's part of a routine. Maybe it's part of the go to bed routine. Maybe it's a part of your go down for a nap routine. Maybe it's part of your snuggle in the morning when everybody else is still asleep and you've just nursed or fed your baby. Then that might be a time when you read a book to them. So whenever we have a routine like that, this is one thing that helps a child feel very safe and secure when they know what to expect, when they know what's going to happen, what's going to happen next. And they also can trust that you're going to take care of their needs as they arise throughout the day. Another thing that comes from book reading is, sometimes you might have people come to your house who are not there all the time. Let's say, for example, your parents come in and the grandparents are in the house, or an aunt and uncle or a friend, and they would like to interact and engage with your baby. Well, for them to read a book is a really great way for them to have an activity to do with them that feels familiar to your baby because you've already done it with them, but also gives them something that is kind of easy and a good segue into interacting with your child. And so one book that you might remember from your childhood, I certainly remember reading this to my kids, and my kids are grown. They're having babies of their own now, but Goodnight Moon. And this is just a kind of a standard go-to-bed book. And we used to read this whenever I was a toddler teacher in our classroom. The toddlers loved this book, and there's a lot of reasons why really young children love this book. There's a lot of reasons why grown-ups love this book. But it's just a classic bedtime story. And so in this book, for one thing, it really lends itself to a nice cadence. As you are reading the book, you can really lull your words and make it kind of a go-to-sleep kind of book. And of course, the words themselves and the illustrations are very go-to-sleepish. It's all about this little rabbit who is going to sleep at night. And so one thing I want to point out is that the first page of this book, the room is kind of bright, and then on the last page, the room is dark. And so as you read the book, the bunny rabbit is saying goodnight to everything in the room, and they're describing it. And so this would lead to you doing a similar routine with your own child. You could go through and say goodnight to the different things in your room, because that's what the bunny does. He says goodnight. And so in the great green room, there was a telephone and a red balloon and a picture of the cow jumping over the moon. And there were 3 little bears sitting on chairs, and 2 little kittens, and a pair of mittens, and a little toy house, and a young mouse. And so as you're reading this book, if your child is a little bit older, they can identify all of these different things in the room as you read each page. Also, this book has really nice rhyming words: kittens, mittens, mouse, house. And so those are a sign of good literature for young children. But then we just begin to say goodnight. Goodnight room, goodnight moon, goodnight cow jumping over the moon. There's some repetition. That's another good thing for literacy. Goodnight light and the red balloon. Goodnight bears, goodnight chairs. And so we just go through the book, and it just becomes very relaxing as you read the book. This would be a great one to introduce to your baby and to just read, not every single night, but enough to where it's familiar to your child. Eventually, when they get to be a little older and they begin to talk, you'll find them pick this book up and they will begin to imitate you. And as they imitate you, you're going to notice something. You're going to notice that they're going to use the same inflections when they look at the pictures and talk about what's in there. They'll use the same inflections in their voice as you have used as you have read the book. And so this imitation is just part of the connection. They are listening to every nuance of you all of the time, but especially when you're reading a book. And so this is how the connections happen. This is how you follow their cues, they follow your cues. This is how you connect and attach, and your child trusts their world because you have done such a great job of creating this safe space, and reading books is a part of that. So that's all for today, and I will see you next time.